Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Pocket English Podcast. I am so happy you are joining us today for a few minutes of English practice that you can take with you wherever you go. I am Emma, and I am joined as always by my co-host Liam.
Hi, Emma, and hello to everyone listening at home or perhaps on your way to work or even just enjoying a quiet coffee break. We have a very special topic today because it is something that almost every English learner struggles with at the A2 and B1 levels. It is the moment when you know enough English to answer a question, but the conversation still feels like a dead end.
That is exactly right, Liam. You have the vocabulary and you have the grammar, but somehow you still find yourself in those awkward silences where nobody knows what to say next. You might be able to say your name and your job and where you live, but after that, the energy just disappears. Today, we are going to fix that forever with one very simple strategy that we call the +1 rule.
The +1 rule is your secret weapon for making your English sound more natural and more friendly. It is the difference between sounding like a robot reading a textbook and sounding like a real person making a connection. Before we dive into the details of how to use this rule, I want to remind everyone that if you find these short lessons helpful, please do subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell. By subscribing, you are helping us grow our community of learners and ensuring you never miss a chance to grow your English one pocket-sized lesson at a time.
Let's start by talking about the problem. We call it the conversation killer. Imagine you are at a networking event or a party, and someone asks you a very common question, like, "Where are you from?" If you just say, "I am from Spain," and then you stop talking, you have created a dead end. You have answered the question, but you have given the other person nothing else to work with.
It is like playing a game of catch, but instead of throwing the ball back, you just catch it and put it in your pocket. The game stops. The other person now has to do all the work to think of a brand new question, and that can feel very tiring for them. If you do this 3 or 4 times, the other person will eventually give up and find someone else to talk to. This is why many learners feel like they aren't making friends in English, even though their grammar is actually quite good.
So how do we fix this? We use the +1 rule. The rule is very simple. Every time someone asks you a question, you give your answer, and then you add one extra thing. That one extra thing can be a personal detail, a feeling, or a follow-up question. For example, if someone asks, "Where are you from?" instead of just saying, "I am from Spain," you could say, "I am from Spain, specifically a small town near the coast that is famous for its seafood."
Do you hear the difference there? By adding that one extra detail about the coast and the seafood, you have given the other person 3 or 4 new things they can ask you about. They can ask if you like swimming, or if you are a good cook, or how often you go back to visit. You have built a bridge for them to walk across.
Let's break down the first way to use the +1 rule, which is adding a feeling or a vibe. As 25 to 35-year-olds, we often talk about our jobs or our daily routines. When someone asks what you do for a living, don't just give them your job title. If you say, "I am a software engineer," that is just a fact. Instead, try adding how you feel about it. You could say, "I am a software engineer, and I really enjoy it because I love solving complex problems every day."
That word "because" is a magical word in English conversations. It forces you to give a reason, and reasons are always more interesting than facts. Even if you don't love your job, you can still use the +1 rule. You could say, "I work in accounting, which can be quite busy and stressful during this time of year, but I really like the people on my team." Now you are talking about feelings and relationships, and that is how real humans connect.
I love that example, Liam. It shows that you don't need to have a perfect life or a dream job to have a great conversation. You just need to be willing to share a little bit more than the bare minimum. Let's practice this right now. I am going to ask you a question, and I want you to answer using the +1 rule by adding a feeling. Ready? What do you usually do on the weekends? Now I want you to think of your answer. Don't just list your activities. Tell me how they make you feel. Maybe you go for a walk because it helps you clear your head after a long week. Maybe you sleep in because you cherish your rest.
Let's give our listeners a moment to say their answer out loud. Go ahead and try it right now. Even if you are in a public place, you can whisper it to yourself. Say the activity and then say "because" and add a feeling. That was great. If you did that, you just moved from an A2 level of speaking to a B1 level in just a few seconds.
The second way to use the +1 rule is to add a follow-up question. This is the ultimate way to keep a conversation going without feeling any pressure to be the one doing all the talking. This is the answer plus question formula. If someone asks if you have any pets, you can say, "Yes, I have a golden retriever named Max, and he has so much energy." Then you add your +1 question, which is, "How about you? Do you have any animals at home?"
This is a very polite and social way to speak. In English culture, it is considered very friendly to return the question. It shows that you are interested in the other person and not just talking about yourself. Some very easy follow-up questions you can memorize are, "How about you?" Or "What about your situation?" Or "Have you ever experienced something like that?" These are what we call universal questions because they work in almost any situation.
Let's look at a professional situation. Imagine you are in a meeting and you are introducing yourself to a new colleague. They ask how long you have worked at the company. You say, "I have been here for about 3 years now, and I've seen a lot of changes in that time. What about you? Are you new to the team or have you been here a while?" This turns a simple fact into a professional exchange that builds rapport.
Many people worry that they will make a mistake if they talk too much. They think that if they keep their answers short, they will stay safe. But the opposite is actually true. When you give very short answers, you actually make the other person more nervous because they feel like they are doing an interview instead of a conversation. Using the +1 rule actually makes the other person feel more relaxed, which makes you feel more relaxed too.
That leads us to another common fear, which is the panic freeze. This is when someone asks you a question that you don't understand or you don't have the words to answer. Even in this situation, you can use a version of the +1 rule to stay in control. Instead of just saying, "I don't know," you can use a safety phrase plus a request. For example, you could say, "That is a great question. I am not sure how to say it in English yet, but let me try to explain it in a simple way."
Or you can use my favorite safety phrase, which is, "Let me think about that for a second." This gives your brain time to breathe. It shows the other person that you are thinking, and it prevents that long silence that feels so scary. You are being honest about your English level, but you are also showing that you are willing to try. That is the spirit of a successful language learner.
Let's talk about hobbies for a moment, because that was a big part of our earlier lessons on talking about yourself. Usually we learn to say things like, "I like movies," or "I like traveling," but these are very general. Let's use the +1 rule to add some flavor. Instead of saying, "I like traveling," try saying, "I love traveling because it allows me to see the world from a different perspective. My last trip was to Japan and the food was incredible."
Notice how Emma added a specific memory there. Specifics are the best way to be interesting. If you say you like food, tell us about the best meal you ever had. If you say you like movies, tell us about the last one that made you cry or laugh. These small stories are like little gifts you give to the person you are talking to. They are pocket-sized stories that fit perfectly into a 5-minute conversation.
I think it would be helpful to do a little bit of repeat after me practice now. We are going to go through a few common introduction questions. I will ask the question, Liam will give a +1 answer, and then we will leave a space for you to repeat exactly what Liam said. This will help your mouth get used to the rhythm of these longer sentences. Ready? Liam, where do you live?
I live in a quiet neighborhood just outside the city center, and I love it because it is very peaceful. Now you try repeating that. Say, "I live in a quiet neighborhood just outside the city center, and I love it because it is very peaceful."
Excellent. Let's try one about work. Liam, what do you do for a living?
I work as a project manager, and it is very rewarding because I get to help people reach their goals. Your turn now. Say, "I work as a project manager, and it is very rewarding because I get to help people reach their goals."
One more. Let's do a hobby. Liam, what do you like to do in your free time?
I am really into cooking lately, and I find it very relaxing after a busy day at the office. Now you repeat it. Say, "I am really into cooking lately, and I find it very relaxing after a busy day at the office."
You all did a great job with that. Remember that the goal is not to be perfect. The goal is to be helpful in the conversation. If you use the +1 rule, even if your grammar is not 100% correct, the person you are talking to will understand your meaning, and they will appreciate the effort you are making to connect with them.
That is so true, Emma. As we wrap up today's lesson, I want to give everyone a small challenge. The next time someone asks you a simple question in English, whether it is a colleague or a friend or even a stranger, I want you to use the +1 rule. Don't let the conversation die at your feet. Add a feeling, add a detail, or ask a question back. You will be amazed at how much more confident you feel when you realize you can keep a conversation going for more than 30 seconds. If you want to keep practicing your self-introduction skills, go back and watch our video on the basics of talking about yourself and try to apply this +1 rule to everything you learned there. The more you combine these lessons, the faster your English will grow. Please remember to like this video if you found it useful, and share it with a friend who is also on their English journey. Every like and share helps us continue to create these pocket-sized lessons for you. Thank you so much for spending your time with us today. Whether you are finishing your coffee or arriving at your destination, remember that every small step you take is bringing you closer to the fluency you want. You have the tools and you have the talent. Now go out there and use your +1 rule to turn a simple introduction into a real conversation. We believe in you, and we can't wait to see your English grow, one conversation at a time. Until next time, keep practicing, keep sharing, and keep your English in your pocket. Goodbye, everyone. Goodbye.